So up at Grassy Bottom, I've got loads of little features that I dot around the garden, and I try to come up with unique ideas, really, that most people wouldn't maybe consider. And I thought what I'd do is just show you around a couple of them, maybe more. We'll see what we've got as I walk around, and just to try and inspire you and give it a go. Now this is an old well pump that was taken from a property, and originally it would have worked and pumped the water for the property, and it would have provided them with water. Now that's a good 150-year-old, that one. And what I've done with it is I've actually put it on Grassy Bottom front, so it looks like it could still pump water, but obviously it can't. And what I've done is I've cleaned up the pump itself. I've actually got two of these. I've got another one in my shed ready to be cleaned up. It came from another source. But what I was going to say was, what I do is I've cleaned it up, scraped it back, and then just given it a little bit of a spray with some clear lacquer. And I've left it pretty much as it is. And then what I've done is I've attached it back to this piece of oak and then just simply screwed it to the wall. So it's at the side of the door. Like that. And what I've also done is I've got hold of this, it's kind of a drain away, I guess you could call this. And what would have happened originally is that a downpipe would have gone over the top of this metal, and it would have, the water from the house would have gone down that and then gone away by whatever means. And what I've done is I've set that to the bottom of it to look like it can still pump the water, and that's exactly where it would go, down there. And you've got to agree that's a nice little feature, and I love that. And I've carried this one around with me to a couple of properties. I like it that much, I just won't let it go. So you can pick these things up off the internet. It's not an hard job. It's simple to screw it to the wall, to put that little base to it, and then I've added a couple of euchres, 3 euchres around it there, and that's pretty much it, really. And it's sat in the gravel garden, so it actually looks like, on the gravel path rather, and it just looks like it's been there forever, but it hasn't. It's just a little feature. Now here's another feature that I use quite often. Oh well, 3 times up at Grassy Bottom, and it's this sheep ring bale feeder. And this was for feeding sheep, and what I've done is I've contained this grass within it. I've shown this quite a few times on here, but basically it's another feature, something to grab the eye. The grid below it, again, was reclaimed from a property where it actually used to go over the top of a cellar. And it was absolutely no good there. I don't know why they used it in the first place, because the rain used to pour through it. So it was going to be thrown away. And I'm a bit of a reclaimer, and I got hold of it and I brought it here. And all it is really is just a feature. It's just a little walkway up to this little bale feeder that just gives me access to it. And it's there for no other reason than that. So it's just another little feature that looks really nice. Now, I used to do a lot of design work, and one of my signature pieces in most gardens was 3 posts. I've done several for myself as I've gone by in different gardens, and this one is probably by far one of my favourites. And what it is, simply 3 telegraph poles put into the ground, the tallest one being 10 foot. I would say the next one down's about 7 foot, and then the other one's about 5.5 foot. And they are simply dug into the ground, and there's nothing hard about it. The hardest thing was actually putting the owl on top, because I had to put the owl on top once I'd actually put the post itself in. Now, I put these chains on, and I only do this, I've only ever done this when it's my own ones. So I've had 3, I think, now that I've put chains onto in different properties. This one here has got them on again. I've tried to find old chain, I cut them up, and then I just simply attach them. Nothing special. I've just simply attached them with these U-nails. Obviously the U-nail is totally different colour to the chain, but I don't get it too finer into the detail. So, you know, really I need to find something that's rusty to match in with that. But that's adequate. That'll do the job. But it's one feature that I love putting in, and it just sits in the border and it's surrounded by plants. And as you can see, it looks absolutely fantastic, and I love that feature. It's probably one of my favourites in the garden. The chains, they're kind of a representation of how I feel sometimes when I'm in the garden, and we all feel it from time to time. We feel like we've been chained in the garden, and that's kind of a nod to that. It's kind of, well, really, I guess it's a symbolism that I'm using here. But these telegraph poles can be bought at most places. Reclamation yards, you can buy them there. You should be able to find them. Often on the internet, people are selling them. Sometimes they deliver and sometimes they won't. Well, I had these ones delivered, which was really good. And so I've made a really good use of it, and I never take off the bits that are already attached to them. As you can see there's some writing that would have had it on the original post, and I just leave them alone. I just don't bother taking those off because they all add to the look of the actual telegraph pole. Now, this one is the top of a telegraph pole, and then the middle one, I think if I remember rightly, that one there came off the top of that one there, so that was cut off that, and then this one here would have been another one, and I would have used the top of that for something else. So that is another great feature for the garden, and something easy, something you could do. You could do that with 3 simple poles. You don't need to get big telegraph poles like this. You could just simply get 3 posts from your local wood supplier, dig them into the garden, and then just plant something around them. Put them into a border, because everything put into a border, man-made, always has this appeal, and it always looks really, really nice. Now, the owl on top of there is a cast bronze owl that I bought at one of the big garden shows in the UK. Well, I bought it at Hampton Court Palace Flower Show a good 15, if not 20 years ago. So I sit it up there for its safety as well as mine. Anyway, so that's another good feature to have. Now, another use of the telegraph poles is this here, and I call this jokingly the Flintstones arch. All it does really is it takes you into the gravel area, the gravel garden, and it's just like a little entrance. It's just somewhere to attract you into. So when we're walking up here, it kind of draws us to want to walk through there. And it's as simple as that. Now, the other telegraph pole I've got is this one here, and this was actually knocked over. The telegraph pole itself, a car ran into the telegraph pole, and this telegraph pole was taken down because it had to be. It was a telephone wire one, and then this one was simply left against a skip, and I claimed it. The person that left it against the skip knew I would, because I'm a bit of a skip rat. So I did that, and I claimed that, and all I've done is put that little blackbird metal decorative thing on top, and it's just another feature within the border, and it looks, well, superb really. I love it. The other feature I've got is this one here, and this is what many years ago in a shed you would have this in the you'd kind of enclose it into some bricks the other way up, and you would wash your clothes in it. You'd have some fire below it, warming the water up, and then you would wash your clothes in it, as I said. So it's been reclaimed because it would have been thrown out, it would have been put on an iron pile and scrapped. I rescued it. And then what I've done is I've screwed 3 holes in, or drilled 3 holes into it, and then I've put these fern, what would you call those? Just these little features, and I've put each one of those into there. So I've just sat them in really. So it's a nice little feature. Now, one thing that I've shown many times before are these cow drinkers. And how good is that when you can just put osters in? Now, the osters admittedly don't look great. I mean, don't forget we're in October now, so it's not looking great, but it's a great feature to put into your garden. I've got loads and loads of different features here, too many to show on this one video, but I always think outside of the box, I never ever just go for something dead boring. I always try and be more original, a bit more unique, and then I try and share the ideas with people like yourselves, just to give you a bit of an idea of how to make your garden that little bit different. And as you can see, that definitely makes it a little bit different. So I hope that's given you a little bit more inspiration. And thanks for looking. I'll talk to you later. Ta-da!